After months and months of preparation, the New York Jets 2025 NFL Draft is officially complete, and ESPN's Mel Kiper has made his stance clear on how the Jets finished the draft. Did the Jets come out with multiple starters? Was it a strong draft? Was it a poor draft? We'll talk about that and much more, all coming up here on a Monday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, joined by our guy Nick Faria from JetsXFactor.com here in his weekly spot. Let's go.
Jets, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Samini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
What is going on, everyone? Hello and welcome back here into another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. Appreciate you all tuning in here on this Monday, April 28th, 2025. Make sure you all smash that like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free, helps us grow significantly. Super Chats memberships go a long way. Every $2.99 Super Chat or gifted membership get you a raffle entry prize we're giving away. Don Maynard signed photo. I'll actually pull it up for you guys here on the screen. It's a Don Maynard signed photo, Joe Klecko signed helmet, Joe Namath Super Bowl III replica ring, a CJ Mosley signed jersey, a free item from our merch store channel emoji. Getting on that if you haven't already. More tickets you have, the higher chance you have to win. Any questions for us, throw those in the chat. We'll get to those. Call in with the pinned comment. But nevertheless, joining us right now, he joins us every single Monday, kind enough to do so. It's the man, the myth, the legend, Nick Faria from JetsXFactor.com. I don't even know what to say, Nick. Have you just been running on caffeine these past few days?
A lot of soda, a lot of water, and whatever food I can find. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I know obviously for you as a beat reporter, draft is a crazy time. You were at the facility for all 3 days. You got to, ask certain questions to Aaron Glenn and Darren Moose. You got to, obviously speak to some of the players right after they were drafted. I know you were one of the people who were very outgoing about this Jets draft class. I know you were very pleased with the haul the Jets came away with. Well, Mel Kiper of ESPN graded the Jets a B overall. He gave them a B grade for this draft. Noted that Arian Smith was a significant reach at 110. I completely agree with Kiper there. Do you agree with Kiper's evaluation of the Jets draft, giving them a B, and how would you rank it overall?
No, I think it's too low.
Okay.
I think it's too low. I gave them an A-. I thought it was a very, very strong draft class. And if we're going to sit here and say that a fourth-round pick being a reach is so significant that it bumps them off an A, even though they got great value at other picks, what are we talking about here? To me, it's not fair analysis. First off, Armand Membu was arguably the best tackle prospect in the 2025 draft. He was the second one gone. We can argue about who was better, Will Campbell or him. I thought Membu, particularly for what the Jets needed, was the perfect fit with the 7th overall selection. That wasn't a reach. That was a perfect pick at perfect value. Then you have Mason Taylor in the second round, and that's pretty much where he was expected to go. There were some people saying he'd go as high as the first round. If Philadelphia ended up drafting a tight end, they did not. They took Jihad Campbell. Instead, Mason Taylor falls to them in the second round. I gave that grade an A-. I thought that was a pretty solid one. It was to be expected. They desperately needed a tight end. They got the third best tight end in this class. And when you have the number 1 right tackle and the number 3 tight end, both can start for you week 1, that's a great get to start. Then, of course, you have Azariah Thomas, who people will debate that should have been a tackle, that should have been a receiver, that should have been this, that should have been that. I think it's preposterous. Azariah Thomas in some mock drafts had him going in the first round to the Buffalo Bills. He's a natural press corner, arguably the best press corner of the entire draft class, and the Jets got him with a 73rd overall selection. That is tremendous value with a third-round pick. So then, of course, you have Arian Smith. Yes, I agree. It's a reach. It's the weakest pick. I gave that a C. I'm not going to give it a D because they addressed a receiver need. We can argue if it was the right one or not. But what we know is they needed a receiver. They wanted a big play guy, and they got a big play guy. They feel the coaching staff can sort of coach out the drops that he struggled with over the years. And then, of course, in the later rounds, Malachi Moore, I thought, another excellent value. Here's a guy I thought he was going to go in the third round, ends up going fourth to the Jets. He's a player who could start week 1 for this team if he develops properly if he's able to hit the ground running in training camp and OTAs. And then in the later portion, you get an off-ball linebacker, you get an edge rusher. I think the edge rusher in Barron could be a John Franklin Myers type of pick.
100%.
Really good against the run. And if you got a run defender on the edge for a 6th-round pick, that is, again, tremendous value. So
Yes.
we're talking about 4 to 5 picks where the Jets had great value. They solved needs. They walked in the draft with 6 needs. They're coming out of the draft with 5 of those needs solved. Yes, they need to address defensive tackle. No one's denying that. But the offseason does not end after the draft. We've got another month or so before free agency truly kind of ends. And even then, there are teams who are going to be able to sign people. So I thought this was a great Jets draft. I thought it was better than last year, and I was very high on the Olu Fashanu pick then. I think this draft is an A- and has the potential to come out with 3 to 4 legitimate starters going into the early portion of the 2025 season. If Azure Thomas pulls out, this draft goes from really good to great instantly.
You're speaking my language there, Nick, with Tyler Barron. I wrote an article for Jets X Factor, why he was the best value pick for this team. I understand they traded up for him with Philadelphia to get to 130 overall and select him. But again, this is someone who is not a perfect player by any means, but has great speed, is very explosive off the edge, is an Aaron Glenn, Steve Wilkes type football player, is going to give you value as a run defender. I've been talking all along how I think edge is a sneaky position in need for this team, with Will McDonald struggling as a run defender immensely last season, and obviously Jermaine Johnson coming off that Achilles injury, a low risk, high reward type move. At worst, you take a risk on a highly athletic young talent. I think he projects at the very least this season to be a primary special teams contributor, because he gives you special teams value and could come in on third down and be a pass rusher off the edge. So love the Tyler Barron pick 1,000%. When it comes to Thomas, really, really like Thomas as a player. I don't like selecting a cornerback in the 3rd round, though. That's my biggest thing. I was pounding the table for Jalen Noel in that spot from Iowa State. The Jets ultimately did take a cornerback, and when it comes to evaluating a cornerback, I trust Aaron Glenn 1,000%, given that he was a former cornerback. You got to remember that
if there's something this team does well, is they draft corners pretty well, guys.
1,000%. Now, Nick, I want to get your thoughts, because the Jets were very, very active in undrafted free agency the second the draft ended. They also brought in some pretty notable names. Brady Cook, Donovan Edwards, among 2 names. I really, really like Quentin Skinner from Kansas, I think is a name that is beginning to fly under the radar. Among the UDFA signings, which one do you think is the most intriguing and presents the most upside for the Jets?
Oh, I love Donovan Edwards. I really do. Okay. I thought his career at Michigan was fantastic. Obviously, he's not the fastest running back, but if you put him behind a really good offensive line like Michigan did, he was able to take over games. And lo and behold, the Jets' offensive line, if there's one thing they're going to do really well this year, they're going to run block at a very, very high rate. Yes. That's exactly what John Simpson's MO is. That's what Armand Membu's mold is. You've got guys who run block better than anybody. Donovan Edwards, he's probably going to be 4th, 5th. He's going to be competing for a roster spot. But I am really intrigued how he looks in preseason and in minicamp, just going through the motions, trying to earn a roster spot, because I think there's a legitimate chance he could surprise a lot of people.
Edwards is certainly fascinating, Nick, because he's one of the guys has the potential to do great things. 7 yards per carry, over 7 yards per carry is what he averaged at Michigan in 2022. Something else I really, really like is that he provides value as a pass catcher out of the backfield as well, isn't just a strict rusher. I really like Donovan Edwards. My favorite one probably has to be Skinner, just given the fact he averaged over 20 yards per catch last year. 6'4", that big-bodied guy I think the Jets need but didn't get in the draft. And I really, really like Brady Cook. Cook is someone I've been talking about for the past few weeks. Solid arm, has good enough legs where he's able to move the chains and pick up first downs, doesn't turn the ball over often. I mean, Nick, do you think there's any chance Brady Cook could carve out a role for himself on this roster and maybe push Jordan Travis over the summer?
Well, that's the goal, right? So when we talked to Darren Muji, the initial thought is, well, the Jets didn't take a quarterback. So clearly they must have some faith in Jordan Travis that, one, he's going to be available for training camp and OTAs and these kind of off-season workouts, but 2, that they believe that he can be a developmental quarterback to see what they have. And then Muji didn't really give him the vote of confidence. He wasn't going to comment on his injury status. He wasn't going to comment overall on the preparations for it. And that kind of leaves Travis's future in limbo. This isn't to say that the Jets are going to move on from him, but it's a wait-and-see game. He's going to have to play at some point in camp, in OTAs. He's going to have to feel comfortable enough to move on his own and be able to throw passes and all these other things. We also have to remember, last year, before he suffered his gruesome broken leg injury, Jordan Travis was going to go in the second round of the 2024 draft. This was a really, really good quarterback class last year, and Travis was on the upper echelon of that conversation. Whether it was the Giants drafting him in the second round, whether it was another team drafting him early in the second round or in the late first round, he was going to go early in the 2024 draft. That leg injury happened, and it bumped him down 3 whole rounds. Now, he still won in the 5th round. The Jets liked what they saw in him when he was fully healthy at Florida State. How could you not? He was a great leader, really good runner, really good thrower of the football, deadly accurate at times. I look at Jordan Travis as the pure developmental quarterback where if you're patient with him, you may be able to find a diamond in the rough. But the Jets, in a new regime, as new regimes do, want their quarterback. And Travis was not someone that they drafted, so that very well could turn the tide a little bit and saying, we'd rather go with Cook because we scouted him ourselves.
Nick, if Travis is healthy, I'm 1000% on board with giving him an opportunity, but I just had enough really with these fans putting just pure blind faith into Jordan Travis. Like there's some guarantee. My whole mentality all along with Travis is you go in expecting nothing with a guy like this coming off a gruesome injury, and I think everything you get out of him is a complete bonus as a day 3 pick. Look, I want him to compete, but I don't think I don't think as a Jet fan I owe anything to Jordan Travis, nor does the Jet organization.
It's not so much anyone owes anything, but I think it's the same thing with Jermaine Johnson. There are fans who expect Jermaine Johnson to come out next season and have 10, 15 sacks.
Yes.
I don't think that's fair to him because
1000%.
It's going to be a slow start. He's going to be coming off an Achilles injury. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Look at Breece Hall. Both players, when they had their seasons off of their gruesome injuries, it took them a little bit to really figure out, okay, what do we have? Can I trust myself when I'm cutting? Can I trust myself when I'm stepping into a throw? It takes time because the first thing you need to do is rebuild trust back in your legs with a gruesome injury like this. So with Jermaine Johnson, with Jordan Travis, I think the fan base really needs to take a step back and realize what we're expecting here. Jermaine Johnson, the best thing you could possibly see is him getting something close to what his burst was like at the start of his career with
9 sacks.
Whether it's 4 or 5 sacks and a solid pressure rate towards the later part of the season, whatever it ends up being, you cannot expect him to walk into the regular season this year at 100%, and he should be rushing the passer and getting 2-3 sacks or 2-3 pressures a game. That's not realistic. It's the same thing for Jordan Travis as well. No one should be expecting him to be the savior because he hasn't taken an NFL practice rep yet. He hasn't done it. He hasn't been healthy enough to do it. So let's see what happens, but let's also not anoint these people that the expectation is this just because I want it to be.
Now, Nick, that is one of the reasons why I've been pounding the table to sign Zadarius Smith all of free agency, and that's why I absolutely love the Tyler Barron pick. Again, people are not only that, but I mean, Will McDonald, I think he had a great season last year compared to what he did his rookie year. But I mean, let's be real. This is someone who came in on 3rd down and was able to sack the quarterback. And yes, players do make livings off of that in the NFL, 1000%. What I'm simply trying to say is I think his season was slightly overrated. The fact people forget his run defense was among the worst in the NFL, and his pressure to sack rate on 3rd down, like he was just pretty much that guy you stuff in there on 3rd down who's going to go in and get a sack for you. So that's where I am on Will McDonald, the Jets Edge Room. Nick Faria, Connor Long here with you, Monday edition. NY Flight Jets Talk. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe. Nick, any other free agents that catch your eye now that the compensatory pick formula is no longer existent with the draft in the books?
Well, keep an eye on the receiver position, keep an eye on the tackle position, but it's also fair to remember a lot of players are going to get cut. There are quite a few players that are going to be released over the next couple of months where good veterans who may have some impact may be able to help the roster moving forward. And this is why Mushi said it. This is why every general manager says it. We're not done building the roster. We're not done building the roster because if a free agent happens, if Dallas Goedert is released, that may change the equation at the tight end position. If there's another receiver released, that may change. Maybe Amari Cooper ends up coming to New York. Who knows? Not saying it's going to happen, but legitimately the Jets need right now Probably another wide receiver, and a defensive tackle.
I think a blocking tight end too. I'd throw that in there.
I don't think that's going to be too much of a thing because I think they.
I don't think they're going to get one, but I just think entering the season with a big wide receiver who has no experience and Stone Smart, someone who's been a complete liability all 3 of his NFL seasons as a blocker, in Jeremy Ruckert and Mason Taylor, who's struggled to play in line throughout his college career. I don't like the way the blocking tight ends are set up right now.
No guarantee that they're going to be using 3 tight ends, though, Connor. There's no guarantee. They may not have that in the playbook. Not saying they won't, but it all depends on what the coaching staff is looking for.
Even where Engstrand's coming from? Detroit?
It all depends because he may look at what Detroit was able to do at the beginning, but say, hey, we're not there yet. Let's cut the playbook down to where we're starting. That's one of the beauties of having a coaching staff like this because they're looking at the roster and they're building a game plan. They're building a playbook to fit that roster. Tanner Engstrand, what he was able to do in Detroit is not what he's going to be able to do in New York because Justin Fields is not Jared Goff. He's never going to be Jared Goff. They're 2 completely different quarterbacks. So he has to transition the play call, transition the playbook in a way that exceeds what Justin Fields is able to do, that allows him to be the quarterback that he is rather than what he wants to be. And I think that's a key distinction here. It's not we need a blocking tight end, we need a receiver, we need this, we need that. It's what do we need in concurrence with the roster, with the playbook that we are trying to build. Maybe that is a 3rd tight end. Maybe that is a 2nd receiver. But we're not going to know 2 days after the NFL draft. We're going to hear about it. We're going to learn more over the next coming weeks as well once this offseason program continues.
Nick, appreciate you as always, my friend. It was after a tough Mets loss yesterday, blowing a big lead. It was good to see them get out there. What was it, 19-5, the final score?
It's a sign of a good team. When you have a gruesome, terrible, pathetic loss, being able to come back and beat the brakes off of a rival, can't ask for anything more.
1,000%. Nick, appreciate you as always. We'll end with a fun one. Thoughts on the Shitter Sanders and Tyler Warren prank calls, courtesy of Jack Solbrook?
So there's two things of thought here. First off, NFL GMs get prank called all the time. There's clips on NFL films where John Dorsey, the old executive, will call whoever was his old partner, whether it was Chris Ballard, whoever it was, and he'd prank call him, and Ballard would be like, "Did you up the offer?" And he's like, "No." "Oh, we're working. Get the hell out of here." He'd hang up the phone. And that's the kind of prank call that brings some levity to this situation. The draft is such a stressful time. GMs joking with each other, trying to draw pranks left and right, makes a lot of sense. That brings levity to the situation. There's a fine line, though. And when you're prank calling players, what's the benefit of it? Do you feel
a
good?
Funny social media clip.
do you feel good getting one up on players going through arguably one of the most stressful nights of their lives or stressful weekends of their lives in the case of Shitter Sanders? What's the end goal there? Are you trying to get clicks? Are you trying to make yourself feel good? If it's yes to both, then you live a very, very sad life. And I feel bad for those people.
It kind of reminds me, remember when those kids did it to Caleb Williams about Ben Johnson?
I've always said it, and I've said it recently. We are failing our youth. We are failing you, Connor, as adults and as parents, because there needs to be more discipline. School systems, school districts are just pathetic. It's really just ridiculous. I mean, no one learns. Connor, can you tell me? I tell this to my kids all the time when I teach it to you. Can you tell me one thing you learned today?
Absolutely nothing. Stare at a whiteboard.
Of course you can't. Because school is a prison and no one actually learns anything. All it is just to keep students in line so they can be good workers in an environment that is just terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous. There are good teachers, there are bad teachers. But the bad teachers are so bad that they're making the good teachers completely obsolete. And then you have students nowadays where parents don't want to actually parent their kids. So you're leaving the kids alone to just do whatever they want. And you have stuff like this. You have bullshit like this. It's absolutely inexcusable. But that's also on the parents. Where the hell are the parents? So you want to start schooling parents, get your shit together.
Absolutely.
That's my rant for the day.
Love a Nick Ferrier rant, and we can go all day talking about school. It's the kids who are innovative, the kids who are creative, who look out the window and build a vision and realize, okay, this assignment's worth my time. This assignment is not worth my time.
None of them are worth your time. Let me cue you in on it. I can't remember a single thing. The only thing I remember from school is the Pythagorean theorem. I'm an NFL reporter. You know how many times I've used the Pythagorean theorem in my life? 0. Waste of time.
I don't think I need any of the things I'm learning right now. But Nick, I was not expecting that school ran in there, given that you are a teacher. But hey, it's good to know that there are some teachers out there, only the great ones like yourself, that do realize what is occurring. But Nick, you're the best. You got any final thoughts?
I think that thought's good enough as a finish.
Have a great night.
See you, man.
The great Nick Faria checking in with us here on the show. Appreciate Nick sparing some time for us. As always, check him out, Nick_Faria1720 on Twitter. Read his work, jetsxfactor.com, Athlon Sports. One of the best in the business. Shoot Nick a follow. Love Nick, kind enough to join us every week, so appreciate him, and I appreciate all you guys tuning in. Smash the like, hit subscribe, get all your questions in the chat for us. We'll get to those. Pinned comment if you want to call into the show. Let's go over to the phone lines. Our guy June, the GM, is up first here on the show. June, long time no chat.
Yeah, man, I've been in the cut. You can hear me good?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I've been in the cut, man. Just, a lot of work. I still got the 9 to 5. And one day, hopefully I can leave it. You know what's funny about Nick Faria, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first started jumping on the chats, he had said something and it got me so mad. Right away, I didn't like him. I was like, I don't like this dude. Who is it? But then I can't lie. Nick has grown on me and has become one of my favorites. Nick be dropping a lot of jewels, knows his stuff, obviously. He's like a damn cyborg, Nick. But he made some really solid points on the draft. He got me feeling a little bit better because I was not happy.
Oh, neither am I.
I was not happy. And I'm going to tell you why I wasn't happy. I can't stand Mason Taylor. I did not.
Likewise.
I didn't. It's funny. I saw just because sometimes, I wish I could always tune in when you're online, but if I miss it, I do watch it the next morning. Appreciate I watch your draft, when you did the draft coverage, the draft recap with your team. And I was like, am I agreeing with Connor? This doesn't sound right. What's going on here? I'm agreeing with him. But the Mason Taylor, first of all, is it me or his tape just does not jump out at you?
It doesn't.
Like he looks really so slow off the line. I mean, he catches the ball in slow-mo, nothing dynamic about him. Somebody came at me and said, because I told him we could have had Fannin. Oh, Fannin slow. Fannin's nasty.
Slow.
Yeah,
Fannin
a lot of people, they're trying to justify
people think of him as a wide receiver. That's why he's not. He's one of the fastest tight ends. That is absolutely insane. And Fannin could actually block too. Like Taylor can't block. Taylor he's an okay route runner, but I mean,
I think it was a terrible pick. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a terrible pick. And anybody trying to justify the pick is just trying to be optimistic. You said it earlier in your pod from yesterday. I would have rather get Helm from Texas, and I'm a Sooner fan.
If I could get Helm in the 3rd or 4th, and then you get Hawes, who went in the 6th, or Conyers, who even went undrafted. Jalen Conyers went undrafted. You have your receiving threat. Have your blocker, great value, perfect. I mean, if the Jets really wanted to take this approach, address the 2 biggest needs with their first 2 picks, perfect. Here's a blueprint to do so, and this is exactly, it would have unfolded perfectly on draft night. Take Warren at 7, the guy I wanted, and take Ozzie Trapillo at 42. Perfect, 6'8", right tackle in the building, your dynamic playmaking tight end. There you go. Enter the 3rd round, Jalen Noel in the 3rd round.
Or
3 biggest needs.
Or because I'm not mad at the Membu pick. It solidifies the offensive line. I'm always going to lean that way. And I told you that. Remember I said I could see his grad in Membu.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is this. Okay, maybe the value for the tight end wasn't there in the 2nd round for us, right? Okay. Grab your offensive lineman. 2nd round, grab the best available wide receiver. They were there in the 2nd round. Grab a Hawk and then trade back into the late 2nd or early 3rd. We could have had Fannin if we would have traded back in the late 2nd. You're gonna give up a draft pick. Give me Fannin. Give me. And there's another tight end that I liked a lot too. The kid Ferguson from Oregon. I would have rather have Ferguson.
There was
I like him more than
there was better value with him in the fourth round. I
Oh
don't like him
no,
that
I'm
much
not
of a
talking about
player.
Ferguson second or third. I'm talking
Yeah.
about if we had to get a tight end, I would have rather had Ferguson in the fourth or fifth than Taylor in the second. I don't like Taylor. Ferguson looks just as good to me than Taylor. I don't like him. I don't like the kid. Something about him. Maybe it's because his father is Jonathan Taylor, old
Jason.
stinky dolphin, Jason Taylor, old stinky dolphin,
Also a
who
Jet.
I hated. I hated the Dolphins when they had him. Yeah, he came in for 1 year. I was not happy about it. I'm never happy when we get stinky players from other teams or like that's why I can't forgive Darrell Revis. I can't forgive him. Because when Darrell Revis went to New England, Connor, when I tell you, bro, it hurt my heart, bro, as a longtime Revis fan, to see him play for the Pats and then win a Super Bowl with them, I never forgave him for it. I still have anger towards Darrell Revis for that. I really do. But I just if we grabbed the offensive line in the first round, but I knew it. Connor, I was watching the draft. I said, we're gonna grab this freaking dude from LSU. I said, I know we're gonna do it.
I knew they were going to do it as well because we already heard the reports swirling that he wasn't going to make it to 42. But if he did, he was going to be the pick. And June, I see some comments in the chat that you that you charge a high rate to be appearing on certain podcasts. Do I owe you anything for calling in on the show, June?
I don't know who's saying that when they're acting crazy. You're acting up, whoever said that. Anyway, another thing too, okay. The Thomas pick obviously was a best player available. They were surprised he was there. Do I love the pick? No, because we didn't need it, but it was a great draft pick. I can respect the Thomas pick. I like the kid from Alabama, the safety we grabbed as well. The other dudes just look like a bunch of special. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not crazy. When we drafted the kid Smith, the receiver from Georgia, wasn't
Yes.
Royals on the board?
Royals. Yes, he was.
Connor, I was so mad, bro. I couldn't believe it when we draft that kid. Now, maybe Muji and them, maybe Tanner has an extraordinary plan to suddenly buy him new hands. Maybe they can borrow Chris Carter's hands for the games. I don't know what they were thinking. I gave this draft a C-.
I did too. I gave it
C-?
a C- to a C.
Yeah,
You go pick by pick. Membu, perfect. Can't complain about solidifying the offensive line. Taylor, we just went over that. Azardier Thomas, great player, awful value. Great player, awful positional value. Fourth round, who was that? Smith, terrible. You could have had Royals. Traded up for Malachi Moore, starter. Okay, solid. I don't like giving up assets, though. Tyler Barron, best value pick of the draft. Francisco Mauigoa. There were several linebackers who were available.
He's a special teamer.
Yeah, a special teamer when you could have had a legit playmaker in Kobe King. I'm trying to think. Rounding out that was he the last pick, or was there one more that I'm NY Jets?
We grabbed the I think Tyler that the kid. What's the last pick? The defensive the pass rusher, right?
That's not it. I said Barron. I'm trying to.
I think it was the pass rusher for Miami was our last.
Yeah, it was
pick,
Barron. It was Barron. Yeah.
I thought that was a good pick.
They traded up to. Yeah, so I went over.
That was a good pick.
Those
I mean,
Barron
it's not terrible, right? I think what threw me off is not a terrible draft, right? I think what really threw me off is just that number 42, Mason. I don't like him.
It's
so when
average,
you don't like
it's
somebody,
average to below average.
And this is my thing. Tell me I'm wrong with this, please. If we were going to draft Mason Taylor, I would have rather re-signed Conklin. I think Conklin could give you the same amount of numbers than Mason Taylor.
Again, way better value as well.
Why not just give Conklin a little 2-year deal, 20-25?
We didn't even
better than Taylor.
June, he signed for $3.5 million with the Chargers
for 1 year.
Yes.
So we let him walk out the door for less than $4 million. You're telling me?
Correct.
Come
on, bro. I was talking about
it
for a week.
That's crazy. I mean, for that we keep Conklin, man, and for that we keep. Did we get rid of Yeboah? Left too, right?
Yes, Yeboah went to Detroit.
Yeboah got more talent than Mason Taylor.
We
never used them. We never gave him a shot. Every time he came in the game,
Yeboah is a special teamer and a blocker. I don't think he's anything more than
that. But he has shown flashes. He's shown flashes in the past, Yeboah. Kenny has done a couple of things
In
that
such a
said, "Damn,
small
I like to
sample
see him win
size,
a game."
too.
It's true, but they never gave him a shot.
Let's check
Don't
his,
don't let this first draft be Mason Taylor at number 42 and expect me to jump up and down. And then when I had to see Jason Taylor's disgusting face on the screen with tears in his eye, oh my son, I said, what? The old Dolphin legend? I don't like it, but I do like some of the undrafted free agents though.
Love the A+ for the UDFAs for me.
The
1000%.
Edwards is sneaky.
Yeah, Edwards is solid because like the 7 yards per carry and stuff during 20. My guy's Brady Cook. That's my guy. And
you know
Brady
what's
Cook.
funny, right? I didn't look into him too much because I remember the Luke Burthen, the receiver, was saying how he sucked. Basically, he was putting him on blast. But today I said, you know what? Let me look at this quarterback. Man,
Also,
he's pretty athletic.
For him. Yeah, very athletic.
Pretty athletic.
Does not turn the
nice
ball over.
arm. Nice
Yes.
arm.
Prototypical size, doesn't turn the ball over.
It's safe to say that maybe sitting behind Fields and Tyrod, I don't know. You don't know, but he's looking all right. I kind of like him too, and I also like the I like some of the offensive depth that the center from Purdue that we picked up. Big boy, I think it's Hartwig.
Got his name. Grant Hartwig. Yes, that's who
big boy, 6'5", 3 something.
You see the German guy they got?
Yeah. And you know who he trains with? The German guy?
No idea, but I saw the crazy.
The German guy trains with the old legend from the Cleveland Browns. That's who he trains with.
Joe Thomas.
Joe Thomas. I think it's Joe Thomas. They said.
Okay, who said
it? It was one of these NFL analysts. One that I really respect. Damn, I don't know who said it, but yeah, that he trains with Joe Thomas. So I think that helps out. We also picked up a big defensive tackle, did we not?
Yeah, he's not that big. He's like 290. One of them was 305. The other one was like 296.
But he looks kind of physically imposing.
Yeah. Speaking of defensive tackle, I think that's where the Arian Smith pick stemmed from. The Bills leapfrog the Jets for Deani Walker from Kentucky, who's over 330 pounds. Defensive lineman.
There was also that kid who was sitting there in our face from Toledo too that we didn't even grab. Neither.
Oh, I didn't
want
him.
Grabbed him.
But
the Giants grabbed him.
Alexander.
But the Giants grabbed him, but in the third round, didn't they grab him in the third round though?
I think it might have been the third, but he's 25 years old, under slightly above 300 pounds.
You hate for a young kid. You hate anybody over 24. You hate him. For a young guy, you hate the old dude. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think it was a huge miss? Because I do. In a draft filled with a plethora of good defensive tackles, was it a miss for the Jets not to even draft one in 7 rounds?
Yes, when they traded up for Malachi Moore, I think that move should have been for Joshua Farmer from FSU, who was still on the board.
Yeah, that's just my take on the draft, man. Once again, I hear Nick Fury, I hear the positivity saying that let's see what happens. It's not over, but I thought it was underwhelming. I give it a C- with the possibility to move up to a B if Thomas turns out to be a beast on the opposite side of Sauce. Obviously, that means that the kid Stevens is going to play safety because it don't make no sense. If he's going to play corner, that draft pick really makes no sense. They have to move the kid Stevens to safety.
It would make even less sense, though, if you pay someone $36 million on a multi-year deal when he plays safety for you.
That's why the draft pick doesn't make sense, period.
Yes, correct.
But that's the only way it makes sense because you're not going to draft the kid who supposedly that some say he was supposed to be a late first rounder. You're going to draft him to do what? Play the bench? I don't know, man. But let's see what happens, Connor. Great content again, man. Again, see my favorite draft pick though that we have is Membo. That's my favorite draft pick.
Favorite pick for me is Membu, but like value is Barron by far.
Barron, and what about the kid from Alabama, the safety? He looks pretty damn good too.
He would have been higher if you didn't trade up for him.
That's true, but he was a captain for Nick Saban, so I guess Glenn got him also.
I don't like trading up twice in the draft. That was another thing I didn't like.
At least trading up for players that we wasn't crazy about. That does kind of hurt.
Like if they traded up for Barron, not Barron. They traded up for Farmer instead of Moore. I would have thought that was the best value pick.
But once again, it's the New York Jets. We never do things right, Con. This is what you have entered the domain of the Jet fandom. This is
Yeah.
what happens when you love the Jets. Expect us to always do some crazy stuff. But let's see what happens. We have to address. Last thing I'll say. I don't know how we're gonna do it. We have to address the wide receiver position. I'm sorry.
I'm
It's
writing an
not addressed.
article right now that should be out tomorrow morning. I have Keenan Allen as a wide receiver. I think the Jets should just quickly look to get in the building. 1 year, 5
I
years,
thought about
1 year,
that.
5 million.
Oh, legend. Why not? Because right now we don't have nobody in the room to help Gabby Wilson out. I agree with you.
1000%. June, have a good night, my friend.
You as well.
Our guy June, the GM, checking in here on the show. June, appreciate your support as always. Appreciate the call. Great stuff from you as always. Appreciate you all tuning in. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Gonna wrap things up here on this Monday evening on NY Flight Jets Talk. Tomorrow, Gunny. Wednesday, Matt O'Leary. Those two in their weekly spot, and then we'll come up with some guests for Thursday, Friday, and then we'll wrap up the rest of the weekend. It feels weird not talking about, previewing prospects, previewing the draft, but hey, it's a long, long road till football is going to be played after the draft just come to an end. But we got you here every single day. We appreciate you all. Smash the like, hit subscribe. That'll do it for me. I'm your host, Connor Long, here on NY Flight Jets Talk. Signing off. Have a good night, everyone. And as always, JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.